Another day at the shed, and this time an ancient Philips radio recorder, RR312. There wasn't actually all that much wrong with this thing, and it's certainly got a very nice sound on it. It's only FM medium wave. Now, as you can see, this has some rather strange controls on it. For a start, when you switch it on, which you do here, with the on volume control, just like an old valve set was before it, the radio comes on immediately. And if you want to play a cassette tape, pop it in there, and the strangeness goes on there, because you'll notice that this mechanism hasn't got the piano key controls. It's the same mechanism that they put in the old Philips cassettes, things like the 3302 model, EL3302, and the 3300, the very first one. So you've got the peculiar control. You press it down and it starts to play back. Pull it back up to stop. That way for fast forward, that way for rewind. Separate record button is next to it, and this machine is fitted with the automatic record prevention system with the little tags on there. That's the eject button. Record button controls your main functions here, of course, and this one here is actually a tone control. You can just about see below a tiny little treble clef symbol with minus or plus, and it works very well, I have to say. You see that boosted the treble, and that decreases the treble. Boost, decrease. Funny things they used to do. Now in the back of this you can run it on 6 D cells. Well, they would have been HP2s when this set was new. Showing my age now, aren't I? And the mains lead's permanently attached to this. I have got the battery cover and so on. There's the battery cover, and it says remove exhausted batteries immediately, and it's got on there, I think, in French, Italian, Dutch obviously, and German as well as English. Ah dear, yeah. And you can see the model number down there on this little label. The battery contacts themselves are perfectly alright. No corrosion, nobody's done anything daft like leave a set of batteries in it for years so they go pfft. Mains lead's permanently attached, goes in here, and with a European style plug, which are rather smaller than our rather chunky ones, you can hide the mains lead away in here. This compartment contained a dinky little microphone which came with it, because the set itself hasn't got a built-in mic. Down there is your mains voltage selector. That will be set for 240 for us here. Though I did measure it once here, and it was getting on for 250. So, okay. Anything they say. Now, these old things, they are prone to losing bits of alley trim like this. And when you put them back, Dad's sakes, be careful, because if you crease it, you can never quite get it to look quite as nice again somehow. It's just that the glue dries out. I've just stuck this on with some of that Yoo-hoo stuff, so that should be alright now. Now the cassette tape player does actually work well. It needed All the usual things, of course. You know, the belts were rotted away, so it needed cleaning out badly. And there goes your radio, a bit like a car one. But as you can see, there's nothing wrong with the Playhead. It's still got a nice treble response, so it's not a wall at all, and it's not out of alignment. That was just about the only thing in this thing that didn't need cleaning. It had been used in a house where people spoke, and when you see all the gunge that comes off on the cotton bud stems and all this sort of thing while you're cleaning them out, I always think to myself, Christ, all that shit's inside their lungs too. Glad it's their lungs and not mine. Now the radio comes with 4 little movable pointers, which you can slide up and down the scale to give you some idea of where your favourite stations are, which is a nice touch. There goes your eject. The quality of these old things, it really does shine through. You know, you just don't see this sort of thing nowadays, do you? And certainly I can't see an MP3 player or whatever, or one of these Android telephone things. God knows what that is, I couldn't tell you, being around in 40 years and being resurrected like this. Now, speaking of ancient tape cassettes, I've got a few here. Very, very old TDK one from the 80s. I never did use 120 myself, C120, because they were fraught with problems. You used to get tangling because the tape was so thin and all this sort of thing. They just weren't worth the bother. There's one that this machine probably knew when it was newer, and it's actually made in Holland. If I remember rightly, even the tape is inside it. Very, very old. Floating foil security. Normal bias. This is starting to look more like the very, very early ones did. Made in Austria this time. C60. And there you are. And you can see the design didn't really change at all down the years. They just kept making same old piece of kit because they knew it worked. You can see there the little tag can be knocked out, and if you do that you can't press the record button because it's mechanically interlocked, so that protects your recordings from being accidentally erased. Another ancient Philips from Austria, this time a C90. And the compact cassette logo you see there was widely used at one time. Now I really am showing my age. You can see it there on that one. That's probably from the 70s. Again, made in Austria. And a very early one from the 60s there. Probably late 60s, that tape. And notice how it's put together, not just with screws, but with tiny little nuts and bolts. You've got them both sides, tiny little hexagonal nuts. Hold that together, and you can see there that the erasure tab has been knocked out. So there's a recording on there they didn't want recording over. You can just put a piece of sellotape over it and then do it anyway. Another one from the TDK stable, the AD90s. I used to use these a lot and still do in the 80s and onwards. This is quite an elderly one, looking like that. And then the last one is, well, that's a strange one. It would have come with, well, might have come with a radio like this years ago with a cassette player. And again, you can see the later ones are mostly glued together. The TDKs, they screw together, but some of the old Philips ones, they're just glued for life. You see, you've got no easy way in. You can get into them, but you just have to be a bit careful. This one has the screws again, but you notice something strange there. No accidental erasure tab. Now that's because this one is very, very old. This must be early 60s, from the dawn of the cassette age, I suppose, to put it in a sort of a po-face way. The EL3300 model didn't have the tab prevention system erasure thing, and you can see it here on this one. If that tab is present, it will press down on that little lever, and that allows you to press the record button. If the tab isn't there though, the lever doesn't get pressed down, so the record button can't be pressed. Well, not unless you're very determined and you want to bugger up the mechanism. Needless to say, pre-recorded cassettes came with the tabs already knocked out, but this one, well, you can see for yourself, Philips pocket recorder, very, very, very old, and it's got the Made in Holland on there. Demonstration cartridge EL1903D/15K, and this is not for sale. Anybody selling this would be chucked in a dike near a windmill and drowned in a sea of tulips. Oh dear. Yeah. So there you are, a little bit about well, cassette archaeology, I suppose you'd call it, for want of a better word. The transformer in this one is a little hammy. It's obviously got a loose plate or two in there. Well, I've got a loose screw or two, so I should know. So yeah, it might be possible to do something about that. I did shut one up by simply pouring a tiny bit of varnish on the transformer, but might look into that on another day. Anyway, so from the shed, see you again soon. Time to do dinner.